Hello again, everybody! As I said last time, from here on out the campaign really opens up a lot. We could play an Andy mission, or a Sammy one, or a Max one. And in fact, we don't even have to do all three, we can skip some of them. I'm going to do the Max one first, because it unlocks another one, which is kind of a secret and quite useful. It's sort of a sequel to the previous mission anyway. Flak has a grudge against Max and he's pursuing that. I guess we kind of see here that apparently these aliens in the Black Hole Army are under the thumb of the humans. Even when the regulations of the army are on their side, humans apparently get their way. Maybe the aliens are second-class citizens back in the Black Hole homeworld, assuming they both live there. I don't know. Okay, so he's breaking air units against Max again, which is a dubious proposition, because Max is one of the best anti-air COs in the game, certainly the best in the Orange Star Army. But he did somehow surprise us, which I guess speaks well to Flak's planning on this one. As I said, Max is the best for this, and Sammy would be the absolute worst, because her anti-air units can't instant kill key targets. Infantry can't hit planes at all, and they get slaughtered by copters. Yep, bombers are the ultimate plan. They can absolutely wreck any ground unit, and any sea unit. They can even crush anti-airs if they get first strike. Probably my favorite unit. I love elite units and flying units, and they're both. Fighters are similarly elite. They're the best possible anti-air unit, but they're also the most expensive. Anti-airs are often a better choice. They're a cheap, hard counter to air units. Bombers can beat them with first strike, but other than that, anti-air units are very good at their job. And they do have an interesting niche role also, of being the best anti-infantry units in the game for some reason. I don't know why that is, but it is a cool thing for them to have, to be the only ones who can instant kill infantry. Having multiple different roles is pretty cool. Missiles are the worst unit in the game. They have one role and they're terrible at it. I mean, the AI is dumb enough to occasionally be baited into them, but against an intelligent person you'll never get a shot off. In Fog of War they might have a niche use because they can see pretty far, so you might be able to surprise somebody with a shot from one of them. But even there, they're pretty bad, and you'd almost certainly be better off with an anti-air and a half. Now, I find that in this mission, getting clever can actually cost you. If I try to give them a no-win scenario with my formation, they'll get defensive and I won't accomplish much. I'd love to get this B copter to safety, but there's no easy way to do that because it's right next to this enemy fighter, and fighters have a massive range. 9 squares, by far the most of any unit in the game. But we can keep it safe by putting it behind a screen of ground units. Yes, that's right, my ground units block their air units and vice versa. Crazy. Now, this enemy B copter is in range of Max's missile, which could instant kill it. Doesn't matter much, because I want to put an anti-air in the spot that's next to it anyway. Note how huge the gaps are in the missile's coverage of spaces. Air units can very easily maneuver around a missile. As you can see here, Max can massively overkill this B-copter with his anti-air unit. Now note that I'm doing this, even though it puts this anti-air in bomber range. I mean, for one thing I have a force to help me survive, but more importantly, it'll help lure him into missile range. She'll ask if you're alright even if you use the missile to attack it and we're nowhere near. Nice of her, I guess, if a little bit odd. More importantly, she'll now start talking about your CO power, a new mechanic for this mission. The bunch of stars under the CO picture in the top left indicate your progress toward your CO power. So every CO, with one exception, has a CO power and a superpower. So for most COs, the superpower, which is new in this game, is just a stronger version of their CO power. Max's CO power, for example, gives him +1 space of movement range and a bit more damage for his direct combat troops. His superpower gives him +2 movement and gives his guys even more damage. They don't tell you how much, unfortunately. They should. Now, Flak's CO power is very badly described, but basically it increases both his good luck and his bad luck. It averages out to make him deal about +10 percentage points of damage overall. But you might even get less damage if you're unlucky, so using his power could make him weaker. Similarly, Barbaric Blow gives him a net about +20 percentage points to his damage, but it could make him really weak. So, what I want to do is to be able to use this missile against his bomber, and or his fighter. So what I'm going to do, fly my B-copter to safety down here, behind a screen of anti-airs. I'll double check the range on their bomber. Being in range of one of them is bad enough, I don't want to be in range of both. And maybe I'll put the T-copter in range, where it can only be shot in a position that will leave the fighter exposed. That should work pretty well. We'll see if both his bomber and his fighter go into missile range. Okay, over here I'll just go ahead and start capturing that thing. He can't really stop me. And I'll advance my rocket. Rockets are probably my favorite unit. Certainly one of my favorite units. It's basically like a super artillery. 3 to 5 space range, even more damage. But it's slow and fragile and really vulnerable. But as I said last time, Max doesn't really have that big a penalty with non-artillery indirects. True, he has 3 to 4 range instead of 3 to 5 range, but that's not as bad as going from 2 to 3 to just 2, and his damage is almost unaffected. So, it's still pretty good. Alright, so anywhere he can attack from pretty much is covered, except I guess the south side of the anti-air. So I'll move this guy here, and now everything the bomber can attack is covered by the missiles. So if he wants to attack something, he takes a missile to the face. And my T-copter, which is my least valuable unit, the only target for his fighter. I'll move my own B-copter in there. And this infantry doesn't really have much it can do. It'll sit around. It'll be maybe a useful shield next turn. We'll see. Alright, let's see what he does. The AI actually has some kind of variance to it, which adds a lot of replayability to the game, although it is also sometimes confusing and frustrating. Flak does have kind of a point there. They have this whole airport, so they ought to be using it for something. And Flak once again proves to be surprisingly competent at teaching his troops these basic things. They're incredibly good against ground units, and sea units, and anything they can attack, basically. And the fighter is sort of the inverse. It can wipe out any air unit, but it can't hit ground or sea units. The game gives you dangerously wrong information here. Helicopters burn 2 units of fuel per day. Planes burn 5. All air units have a massive fuel reserve of 99 fuel, so even that 5 doesn't really hurt them that bad that fast. But on a big map it might matter. Okay, the T-copter is my least useful unit, so I'm happy to use that as fighter bait. Oh wow, it survived. Now normally that would not be possible. It only survived because Flak has bad luck, and he rolled badly on his luck, and therefore failed to kill his hard countering. That's about the expected outcome when a bomber attacks an anti-air. Well, this is dandy. Let's take care of the obvious move first. So, my missile, which supposedly is bad for Max, right? But nonetheless, it's good enough to overkill battlecopters, almost kill a fighter, the toughest air unit, and it can take out this 9 HP bomber in one shot too. Comparison, how would an anti-air unit do, hypothetically? 90%, still pretty good. Okay, I think that the best choice is to use it against that fighter and just cripple it. It would take 2 anti-airs to bring down a fighter, but now the injured anti-air can take it out. I'm trying to keep my units alive for a good score, and more importantly, for glory. This is the reason I did this mission first. One very cool feature about the campaign, which I appreciate a lot, is that there are actually 4 secret levels to unlock. You unlock them by capturing certain properties on certain missions. And if you complete that secret mission, called a lab mission, which is always some kind of timed puzzle, then you unlock a secret unit. It's of questionable value in multiplayer, but extremely handy in single player for some maps. Anyway, I find the whole secret missions thing and unlockable units to be a fun part of the campaign. An optional side challenge with a nice reward. Since I'm fond of the unit which gets unlocked, I always do those missions first. That is a remarkable feat of jumping to conclusions. But yes, he's right. And there's also one in Green Earth too, of course. Okay, now my rocket is in a good position here. It can shred the tank if the tank drives forward to attack the mech, and then the mech can counterattack and wipe the tank out. That is what I want to happen. Now I'd like to keep my T-copter alive if I can, but technically I am allowed to lose up to 2 units and still keep my perfect technique score. To talk about technique, you can lose up to 20% of your units while keeping a perfect technique score. So it's not, as Nell indicated, the number of units that die, it's the percent of units that die. Out of 11 units, 20% means I can lose 2 and be just fine. Now then, I think I'll have to have my anti-air drive over here just finish off that fighter. It can't do much else, and that will keep them from easily killing the T-copter. It also opens up more space for me to attack his bombers with my other anti-airs, so I'll do that. Now remember what I said in the first mission. Injury doesn't directly decrease your defense like it does your offense, but it does decrease your ability to use defensive bonuses from terrain. Air units can't use defensive terrain, so that's why my damage is the same against both of these bombers. So you can see that even Max has trouble instant killing bombers with his anti-airs. Normally. But now I've got my CO power. So now I could actually do it if I use that. It won't really help me much in this circumstance, and I'm mulling over whether to save it for next turn instead. I might appreciate the maneuverability for something then, of course, or saving it for my superpower instead. But you know what? I'll use it. It doesn't make a big difference in this mission, but it might help my B-copters get instant kills. I feel like there's a word missing there. Want to test might? What? Okay. So, instead of doing 90 damage, I now deal 105% damage. Pretty good. Let's take that instant kill. I want this B copter down, because it can attack several of my more vulnerable units. Like finishing off the injured anti-air. So let's not have that happening. 168%, pretty crazy. Overkills are useless, but it does mean that even if I had taken some damage, I could still instant kill him. This will give Flak his superpower, but as I pointed out last time, that's actually less than worthless most of the time. 91%, we might even kill it, but get maximum luck. Luck will give you plus 0% to 9% damage on most COs. Okay, didn't quite luck out enough, but good enough. He'll probably just join those helplessly and then accomplish nothing. So, back goes my T-copter to safety. Now he might roll max damage on his tank. If he does so, then I'll lose that mech. But other than that, I should be safe. Alright, Flak's superpower here. Notice that there's different music for the black hole powers versus the good guy powers. I like that too. Different music for both sides for both CO powers and superpowers too. Yeah, he's being smart attacking the missile, but it doesn't really add up to anything. He's so injured he couldn't even scratch it. Now, two things could help my mech. Number one, I use my CO power, and any CO power gives plus 10% defense. Wow, he didn't even try it. I mean, the only point of his power is to hope for instant kills against units who do decent damage to but can't quite kill. Well, how should I go about this now? If I... 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. I can't really kill that infantry this turn. That's okay though, I still have a few left for the speed time. But I'll just go for the easy kills there. One down. And I'll drive an anti-air over there so in case he pulls back I can just pursue him and kill him. Well, let's keep racking up the kills with this severely injured guy because it's funny. And I'll wipe out this B copter. And you know, this is a good chance to talk about something mildly interesting. So I mentioned last time that if you join two units, you get whatever HP is wasted as funds. Right now I have 10,000 funds, right? So if I join this 10 HP anti-air onto the 2 HP one, that's wasting 2 HP of anti-air, right? Because I just get one 10 HP guy out of it. Side note, yeah, you can join with guys who've already moved. Well, an anti-air costs 8,000, so if I do this I should get 20% of that as extra funds. There you go. Not really important, but it'll matter on some later chapters for clever moves. I'll get this B copter over here to help pursue the infantry if it flees too. And we'll end our turn. We have plenty of time left. I think it's like a 6-turn time limit to get a perfect score in this one. Once again, he didn't attack. Now it is good not to mindlessly attack a heavily fortified position, but just standing there in firing range is not good either. As you can see, the anti-air does massive overkill damage against infantry. They are unmatched at that for whatever reason. And that's the win. We took 0 casualties, so better than I expected, thanks to him really getting terrible luck against my T-copter. I don't know about not a scratch, we've got quite a few units severely injured, but none died, which is something. Nice of him to speak for troops about this and say that they don't mind their casualties. He's like the Catch-22 Colonel Cathcart of this world, bravely volunteering his soldiers for mission after mission. And yesterday... Is the part where he called you Max's girlfriend really the part to get upset about there? Sammy did have kind of a romantic subplot with Eagle in the previous game, but that's mostly left at the wayside this time. Oh, and Nelsha's up too late to help, as usual. She never really does anything in the campaign for some reason.
Mission complete.
The unique background there, planes falling from the sky. You know, there's one of Eagle's missions later on, and it would have been hilarious if they used that background if he didn't do very well on that mission. Sadly, they didn't do that. Well, another one in the bag. Next up, we have the Secret Lab mission, which will be our first Fog of War map, so breaking a lot of new ground. I forget where they teach you the Fog of War mechanics if you somehow don't do that mission. Well, have a great day, everyone.